I got a lot of those. Two I'll name.
Yeah.
One I'll do as an adult, one who was a kid. The adult one was someone who, so he would give expert testimony. That was his job.
Okay.
And he is, he's in his 50s. And all of a sudden it was pretty sudden that he felt like he couldn't remember things. He was obviously incredibly sharp, and he was like, I relied on my memory for everything. And then all of a sudden I just couldn't do it. He's like, I couldn't work anymore.
Whoa.
And it was awful. And he had to go on disability. And he went and he's like, I think I have early onset dementia, or do I have MS and it's affecting my memory? And so he went and got tested. I mean, he had, MRI, spinal tap. He had, and they said, look, we do not see this. And they asked about his sleep because he had neurocognitive testing, which showed he had mild cognitive impairment, which is usually what you see prior to having, dementia. But they said, look, it's not in the domains that we would see with Alzheimer's, and we're not seeing anything on your imaging to suspect that it's what we call, essentially kind of dementia that may be related to having lots of little strokes. They didn't see that, and they didn't see anything to suggest multiple sclerosis. And they had done blood work as well and they didn't see anything there. So they recommended that he get sleep evaluated. And so he did, and he had sleep apnea, and it was incredibly mild. So, and I believe sleep can cause everything. And he was a case where I said, look, I literally think sleep does everything. But this is a case where, given how profound your symptoms were and how quickly they came on, I don't know if treating this is going to do this. I was like, but we have nothing to lose. So obviously we're going to treat it and see what happens. But I want to set expectations. And I usually go the other way. So for me to say this was, it hurt. And I saw him a month later, and he goes, it changed his life. And we both were like, and he's a PhD, so we were both like, this is placebo. Like, you just felt this way.
Sugar
like,
pills.
this is, we're like, whatever this, but we're like, it doesn't matter. And at the end of the day, you feel better, but we still kept, we kept seeing each other. And then 9 months later, he got his testing repeated. And he no longer had mild cognitive impairment, and he had increased by 1.5 standard deviations on his testing. So it showed objective evidence that he no longer had it. Huh. And so he is someone to this day that I will tell everybody, I already believe that severity of disease, whatever that is, doesn't necessarily tell you what your symptoms are. It just may help you as far as treatment approaches. And he was a prime example of someone where, again, I would not have believed it in a million years. And he changed really pretty rapidly. And it's been sustained. I mean, I've seen him, it's been, I think, 9 years later. And he's still, like, to this day. I mean, he is, if you want to talk about someone who will go preach on every mountaintop.
A zealot for the cause.
He is a zealot.
Yeah.
And usually people are, because you hear stories all the time. I mean, we've had stories. I'll tell you the teenager, and then I have so many other ones. But he was someone who had ADD and executive dysfunction. And he was told by many teachers, they tried, but I think there was a lot of he felt that he was not going to achieve much. And he also had 2 older siblings who were incredibly successful, high achievers, and it also just made him feel really badly. And it was causing a lot of friction at home, friction at school. He wasn't doing well with his grades. And we ended up diagnosing him. He ended up having, we found narcolepsy is what he had.
Wow.
So his struggle was he struggled to stay awake. He had a lot of issues with attention and focus. And when he was able to treat it, his grades went up dramatically. He had notes from teachers that, said we didn't know, and it was truly a night and day. And also the relationship with his mom, who I won't go to the details of how bad it got, but it got really, really bad to the point where they were fighting a lot and was not sure he could still be in the house or she could be in the house. They got to that point. And because there was a feeling that it was oppositional as opposed to he had something going on that may be impacting his symptoms. And it was on every side. It was an incredibly, it was very fulfilling how well he did. And how everyone kind of came together because of it. So, there's so many of those, or people who, I had someone who was in a relationship with someone who she would fall asleep every time they went out to dinner with other people, and he took it very personally if she just couldn't stay awake. And he took it incredibly personally. And, when she treated it, was, again, these things where, people will go for years and not realize there's something you can do about it or that you can address it.